Okay, so monthly reports. We are moving into monthly reports. And number one thing that I have to say is that monthly reports are absolutely a vital part of our program. They are part of our audit every year from the Office of Judicial Administration that allows our program to stay open. It doesn't matter if you have a case or not, you still have to complete them. They are one of the requirements from National CASA and Kansas CASA Association. And so they are, I can't tell you how important these are. I could go on and on and on and on about so many reasons why they're absolutely crucial, but what I will tell you is they are vital, vital, vital. All right. They are required by the OJA, that Office of Judicial Administration. I also have to use these to stay up on all the cases because when we have our annual audit, I have to know what's going on in each case. These are some of my cram notes. That's one of the reasons too. But also they'll look at what's coming in for the monthly reports, and they'll look at your court reports and they'll say, okay, so why did they do this or why that? And that's one of the things that we always have to have. And we need to know what's going on, and so they become such an important part of that OJA audit. They are due, in fact, on the 5th of each month for the previous month. I've talked about this a couple of times, but really let me explain. They are only done during a calendar month. So we are approaching the end of the month as I record this right here. I can't submit my court report yet because I might possibly have something else to do with the child, or an incident could come up, but I might be ready to go. And when it comes, and let's say it's the 1st of the month, then I know everything that has happened and that I have done in the previous month. That is when I can go ahead and send it in. It is due by the 5th day of the month, and the reason for that super fast turnaround is we then have to get all of that received, entered, put into reports, and then I have to send that out by the 8th of the month to other places for reports, for grant reports, for Kansas CASA Association, for National CASA, for OJA. There's so many reports. Everybody wants to know what's going on. So we need the time as a staff to literally be able to turn that around and do that while still going to court and doing other things. Excuse me. Okay, so it's really important that they come in on time. Now that, again, I've said this before, but I want to make sure I'm really clear. You need to perform or complete a monthly report whether or not you have a case. For instance, right now, I, as a volunteer, do not have a case. As an executive director, I'm not supposed to take cases, although sometimes I do. I don't have one at this particular moment. And I still have to complete a monthly report. Now, the only thing that would be included on my monthly report would be my in-service hours. So if I was doing it online or even the written form, I would put online, you have to enter a case number. And so my case number would be, here it says 22, but it could be 24 JC XX. And XX just means don't have a case. So the last two digits of the year, dash JC dash, and then just put XX. The online format will include that. It's the same format that you would do if you were typing it up on our Word document. If I don't have a case and I don't have any in-service or continuing education hours, I still have to submit that court report. It is still essential. I do want to include in it any in-service or continuing education that I have done for the previous month. That's typically what mine includes every month that I file them. I almost always have some sort of training or something that I have done that would count as continuing education, and so that always gets included on my monthly reports right then and there. Now, if you do take or complete an in-service training, we do ask you to include your certificate or proof of attendance. If you take one of the ones that we have provided online, where we send you a link each month, and you have done that, that is amazing. Know that you'll get an email back saying you've completed it, and we also get that same email, so you don't have to send us that certificate. But if you go outside and you take a different training that is not held by us, either the email confirming that you're in there, or sometimes they have a certificate of attendance, please send that on to us because we need to have that as a part of your case file. Now, sometimes we have done trainings and they may take people longer than a year. They might start it on the 31st and finish it on the 1st. So where do you put the hours? Put the hours that you do on the 31st on that month's report. Put the hours you do on the 1st on that month's report. Also, sometimes we have people that are attending college, or they may do a training, and it may take maybe once a week over a couple of weeks. Sometimes people are going to school for social work or for other things, and they're taking a class, and the class counts as continuing education. And that's something that you would check with me about for our program or our outreach coordinator to see if it would fit. If that's the case, you just put in the hours that you completed that month towards that course or that class. They are emailed to me in the Word document that I send out every month with a reminder, or you can use our online form. Our online form is the exact same form. It's just online, and it's a lot of people find it easier to enter. What I will say is our online form does not like Microsoft Edge. Doesn't like the Microsoft Edge, so you need to go with any of the other internet browsers. Have not had a problem. Google Chrome, the DuckDuckGo, I'm trying to remember, Yahoo, the Safari, I want to say, is the Apple one. Like, those don't have a problem. The only one that's ever had a problem is the Microsoft Edge. So please be aware of that. If you get in there and it doesn't look right, that's why. All right. Now, what I do have to say is I have to say that failure to submit your monthly report on a regular basis can mean removal from a case and decertification. Typically, if we don't get it, Devontae or our outreach coordinator will give you a couple of days. Then the outreach coordinator will reach out to you by email and say, hey, you must have forgotten and all the crazy stuff that's going on at the beginning of the month. We really need your court report, or we really need your monthly report. And that is when we send the friendly letter, and then wait a little bit, and then we'd have to send a not so friendly reminder that you need to do it. So that is really important. We can't continue to send. We need these reports. Some of our funding depends on these reports, especially. So what happens is if you go for 3 months and you have not, if you go 3 months on that third month that you haven't submitted a report, the Office of Judicial Administration requires me to remove you from any and all cases and then decertify you as a volunteer, which means if you wanted to volunteer with our program or any program anywhere, again, you would have to restart training completely. Not just, oh, I only need to do 4 hours to find out the local stuff. No, you would have to start again overall from day one, and that is not something anybody wants. So, urge you, it's just really easy. Go ahead and do your monthly report, send it in. We try and keep it super simple. All right, so let's look over it. Now, I'm going to have this on the screen, but obviously I would love for you to look at yours if you wish. It is pretty self-explanatory. You're looking at your name, your case number, the case name, which is usually the last name of the child. So if you have 2 or more children and they all have the same last name, that one last name is the case. If they have, if you have 3 children and they have 3 last names, you would put the last name of each child. I know a lot of times I will abbreviate it. So we had a case where the initials for the 3 last names for the children were FAQ. So I would put in there FAQ. For my notes, you could put FAQ, or you could put their names out there, and you would put the first name / the second name / the third name. I should have done that. First name / the second name / the third name. Gotta remember I'm going backwards here on the camera. The month that you are doing the court report, that is the previous calendar month is what you're going to enter in there, and then the year, because we use the same form over and over. Next thing that you're going to see is you're going to see that there is the date, the time spent, the type, the purpose, the person contacted, miles driven / title of in-service. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. This is the list that you're going to have. of everything that you do that month that is case related. Bottom there is a chart that talks about different things for E for email, for T for a telephone or a text, let's see, C for court, FF face-to-face, V video, Skype, any kind of video call, whether that's Zoom, GoToMeeting, etc. They all kind of fall in there. And so those are your codes. You'll see W for written and CE for continuing education or in-service. So anything that you do, if you spend time reading the court, so let's say you just get the case, right? You're going to go ahead and put the date and then the amount of time that you spend, and the type would be W for written. You're reading through the case. You're reading through, you're developing that investigation plan, you know, like we've done, who am I going to talk to first? What do I want to ask? Preparing for those. Those are all things that would fall under W. Emailing the caseworker about something, or one of the parents about something, or even cost of staff, you know, that's what you would put in there. The other thing that I would say is email face-to-face. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory, but what I want to say is you can never do something that is less than 15 minutes. Now I know that sounds crazy, because it does not take me 15 minutes, to make a phone call and get somebody's voicemail and leave a voicemail. Hey, this is Lisa. I'm just calling to verify that, you know, or calling to set up whatever, or I was hoping to schedule a time that I could chat about da-da-da-da-da. That doesn't, please call me back. That doesn't take me 15 minutes. However, when it comes to our database system and when it comes to the grant requirements, everything has been decided on a federal level on down that it is not less than 15 minutes for our grants and for our purposes here in the office. So even if it only took you 2, we need you to put 15 minutes. Now, when you are doing these, one of the things that I will tell you is you can either put 1/4 hours, or you can put 0.25 hours, okay? And that is it, because we don't put like 47 minutes. It's got to be an increment. So 47 minutes. You decide if that's 45 minutes or if that's 60 minutes, right? But I either need it very, very clear how much time there is in there. The purpose could just be something really simple, like it could be visit, or it could be information, it could be update. There are a lot of things, kind of like what is the general thing that you're doing. And if you're trying to set up a visit, you could put visit, or you could put communication update. You know, you're trying to set up an appointment or a phone call for an update. Perfect. Kind of what you feel like the main thing is there. Now, the person you contacted or the person you visited with, and any miles driven, or the title of in-service. So I'm going to come back to in-service or the continuing education in a second. If you reached out and you went on a visit and you saw the child and you saw placement, then you in this box would put child and placement. If you traveled 14 miles to get there, then you would put 28 miles here. 14 miles out, 14 miles back. Okay? We keep track of the amount of miles that you drive with regard to the case. So even if you're only driving a mile down because you're going to meet with a caseworker in town and then a mile back, that's okay. That still put that 2 miles there. If you have like a permanency meeting or one of the meetings, case planning meeting, there might be a lot of people present. Go ahead and put them in there. And you can put their names, or you can put who they are, as in mother, father, child, placement, social worker, caseworker, CASA staff, etc. And you can do that because that tells us who's there. So remember, when you go on that visit, remember I said list everybody who's there. This is one of the places that you're going to need to put that in your court report. And one of the reasons why I asked you to include that information. Now, let's approach this from the standpoint of a continuing education requirement. Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory. You fill in the date, start, you just keep track. If you do some kind of training, some kind of continuing education, whatever date you do that training, you put that date, you put the time spent, again, nothing less than 15 minutes. The type would be CE for continuing education. The purpose, you would just put training. And then in here is where you would put the title of the training. So it could be a training on the emotional impact of foster care. Great. It could be something that had to do with cultural. You could be sitting down or learning about a specific culture that affected. It could be any amount of training. It could be a training. Often if we do any updates to like the court report or anything like that, I'll do a training on that. You could put that in there. Whatever the title is. Okay, so that should be pretty self-explanatory. There are plenty of boxes online as well. It looks very similar to this where you're just putting it in. You do not have to calculate and total those. Let me come back here. You do not have to calculate and total that up. That is not something you do because that's not how we enter it. The computer does that for us all. So the second page, if you're looking at paper or the second part of the form, has there been any, there's a series of checkboxes, yes or no. Has there been any change in placement? Yes, the child had to change placement. They could be reintegrated home. They might have had to change foster homes. Something might have happened. They might have moved from a PRTF, a psychiatric resident treatment facility, to a foster or a group home. So anytime there's a placement change, you're going to put yes or no. If there's a reason, if something is different, I don't always say if he says yes, but if there's a reason, if there is a change of some sort in there, that's where you put the explanation. Released from PRTF. That's all you would need to put in there. It doesn't need to be super long distance. Reintegrated to home. That is what you would put in there. It doesn't mean the case is over. It just means that they're now home with their parents. Okay, the next one, are medical, dental, vision needs being met? Yes or no? It doesn't mean did they have an appointment that month. It meant, are they going to the doctor? Are they getting their therapy that they're supposed to? So yes, if everything's being met, yes, I don't need an explanation. If it's no, that's when I need the explanation for this one. Why aren't they getting their therapy appointments? We're waiting on a doctor. We're waiting on the assessment. They're trying to get an insurance situation worked out. Great. That's information we need to know because we might be able to go ahead and make an email or have a conversation and get some help or resources out there that might help move that along a little bit more. Okay. So, does the child receive, or any of the children receive special education services? Do they have an IEP? Do they need special services? Yes or no? If they do, you could just put IEP and you would be fine. Okay, are visits taking place as ordered by the court? This would include parental visits and as well as sibling visits if the siblings are split. Because remember on our Harris Price case that we've kind of been watching out of the Texas case that we've been watching throughout this training, we had 3 children placed in 3 different places. This is significant, so we need to track that. Are they getting those sibling visits like they're supposed to have? In the Harris Price case, we could say no, because although the boys are having occasional visits, and that's what we put, boys are having occasional visits with each other. Mom and Robert are not having visits. Boys and Rose are not having visits. So see here, I just pull that stuff in from the Harris Price case and I'm putting it in here, and now we're all of a sudden, oh, they're not getting the visits. So that's a no. That's why it needs the explanation. Are other court orders being followed? Are visits supervised, monitored, etc.? Has this child been abused in the last 30 days? They're looking for any new abuse or any abuse that has taken place in the last 30 days. It doesn't matter if the child's at home, in a kinship placement, or even foster care. We need to keep track of this. We have had situations in the state of Kansas where a child has been in foster care and they have still suffered physical abuse, and that's not good. We want to make sure. There have been placements that have abused children. There are facilities that have done things that they're not supposed to do. It's reported on reports like this, and then we know how to escalate that here from a CASA staff standpoint. And I can tell you that there are placements that have been forbidden by certain judges, that none of their children would be allowed to go to that placement. They bar that placement for reasons like this. So they want to make sure Okay. There are case plans that have to happen every 6 months. That's kind of like a reevaluation of all those case plan tasks to see their progress and different things. Do we need new tasks now? Do we need to drop off some of the old tasks and things like that? You are invited to all those meetings. If you can't attend, you'll share any information you want with us, and the CASA staff will make sure that we get to attend those meetings. However, we do want to track, if at all possible, when the last case plan meeting happens. You should receive notice, and so you may not know that very first time at the case because we may not even know ourselves yet. However, keep in mind when the date of the last case plan is, and as you read through the materials, if you find out, add it in here, and then from that point you'd be invited, so we need to make sure. And if we notice, for what happened last year when we were at our Office of Judicial Administration OJA audit, we had one. And what we realized is St. Francis had not held the case plan in a timely manner. But they did, but we thought they didn't because it showed it had been 8 months since the last case plan, and then they questioned us on it, and we said, well, no, we have not. We've looked through the records, we pulled it up, the court records that we had, and then it turns out it was just St. Francis didn't invite us, so then I had administrative stuff, we had to take care of that. But that's one of the things that they look for. They're not always just investigating us, they're looking at, are all the agencies sharing that information? So it's important that if you can, if you don't have it the first one, that we try and find it together, brings CASA staff aware of it too, and then we will try and take it from there. The date of the next scheduled hearing and time. Now you will know that because that's always included in the court notes that I take. In fact, after we finish this section, I'm going to go ahead and put the court notes in for you to look at what they look like. It's not going to be a very exciting sheet. You do not need to print it, although you can if you want to use it for yourself. But we do have court notes that we use a format, and that's where you'll see the last names of everybody, the date. And one of the things is the day and time of the next hearing is always listed on that. And when you're assigned a case, even though you may not have court notes yet, we will tell you when the day and time of the next hearing is. Okay. This next section in the middle, all right, here's what we want to do. So let's, for the sake of argument, say that there are 2 children, a boy and a girl. We're going to keep it that way just to make life simple. We want to track, or we need to track for grant purposes and for other purposes, OJA purposes, the number of health encounters. So let me define what a health encounter is. Do they go to the doctor? Do they go to the dentist? Do they go to the therapist? Do they have any kind of health encounter? This means, did they have to run to the emergency room because they were playing at school and they were in gym and broke their arm? I know I had that happen to one of my children. They were at school, they ran up this cheese wall thing, and she broke her arm. It was like the first full day of the first Monday of the first full week of school. That was my middle child that decided to do that. And so, like, you know, it doesn't matter. We're not looking for fault here. We are just looking at, like, did they go to the doctor? How many health encounters did they have? So that would include any type, medical, dental, or mental health. So what you would do is put that child's first name, and we're going to say Aisha. Aisha, I got to pick some names, so I picked one of the one of the names of the people at my church. So Aisha had 3 health encounters. She went to the dentist, she went for her regular checkup, and then they wanted her to come back and do some shots because they realized she hadn't had all your immunizations. So she went to the doctor 3 times that month, and they were all medical. Okay, so I would put under encounters 3, and then I put medical. Now, this is something really easy. You just ask placement, hey, how many times did they go to the doctor? Did they go to the doctor at all this month? You know, and then, okay, great. If we know the child's in therapy, did they go to all their therapy appointments? And we know they're supposed to have weekly therapy. And there's like, yes, they went every time. Great. We know that they go on the Thursdays. There were 4 Thursdays this month. Perfect. They had 4 mental health. We put the child name, we put 4, and then we put mental health out there. That's all we want to do is track that. So I would track each one for the child. So like Aisha would have 3 medical. Let's say she did 1 dental, and 2 mental health. Let's say she's every other week for therapy. But her brother, Bob did not have any doctor's appointments. He did have 1 dental, so you would put Bob 1 for a number of encounters, and then dental. And then let's say Bob is in therapy weekly, so we would put Bob 4 times for that month, and then mental health. That's what we're looking for here. Super quick, easy. The next section that you have, I've got it squished on here to try and fit onto the slide so you can see. But if you look at the actual papers that I had, you look at above, you see that there's a space to put a very short, brief, no more than a paragraph update. Like, I don't care how, if you want to do bullet points or a paragraph, but that's an update on the status of the case right now. We are waiting for A, B, and C to happen. We're waiting for the child to get into therapy, mom and dad to start having their drug and alcohol assessments scheduled. Where, you know, whatever is kind of what's going on right then and there with the case is what we want to include. If you have any concerns according to what's going on in the case, this is where you kind of give us a heads up. Hey, I got a kind of a concern. There's something here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it doesn't rise to the level of something that you think you need to report to us immediately right away. So, if you attended any of those case plan hearings or any of those team plan meetings, you would put the number there, and it would be 1 per child. So if there were 3 children, you attended a case plan for each child, although they kind of run them together, you would still put 3 because it's technically 1 case plan per child. And then if you attended any court hearings, the number of court hearings you attended, that goes there. All right, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to let you look at the style of court notes, and then I will be back.